But does our government actually even represent the majority views of U.S. society? If it is truly democratic, as the pluralist theory suggests, many different groups all have some power in various ways. But if in fact only a select few have a voice in government, an oligarchy, then the power elite model may be more accurate. The first sociologists who brought up a power elite oligarchy after the first two world wars were concerned with the power of the military-industrial complex. Military leaders, heads of industrial corporations that made military technology, and politicians, all of whom could retain and increase their level of wealth and influence by utilizing the fear of future wars and the promise of millions of working-class jobs. And we've seen military spending and activity increase steadily since that time, until the present, where the United States spends more on its military than most of the rest of the world combined. But the weapons industry isn't the only set of corporations to vastly increase its power in recent years. So a larger power elite model has been proposed, that our oligarchy is largely plutocratic, ruled by the wealthiest people and corporations. One of the big concerns is the so-called revolving door between high-level positions in corporations and top legislative and executive positions in government. Gaining wealth through corporate careers or connections helps run expensive election campaigns, and retiring politicians and bureaucrats make millions as corporate lobbyists, since they have the necessary institutional knowledge and social networks to influence those still in office. Each of these individuals faces a role conflict of interests, with connections both in powerful corporations and government positions with power over taxes and regulations that affect those corporations. So the First Amendment to our Constitution is intended to prevent a religious theocracy from dominating our government, but does nothing to stop corporate influence. In fact, Supreme Court decisions such as Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission in 2010 have defended corporate campaign contributions as a matter of free speech, which is also protected in the First Amendment. It's a fuzzy line between giving money for political favors as a bribe, which is illegal, and lobbying politicians with campaign money and policy meetings at luxury resorts, which is currently legal. So how much of an effect do wealth and social influence have on political influence? In a republic, which perfectly represents the will of its citizens, the more people who support a law, the better the chance it would have of passing. But a major study on political decisions and public support found that for most people, there was almost no difference between the passing of a law which they loved and the passing of a law which they hated. However, the opinions of the wealthiest 10%, the elite, did have a significant effect, able to block a law entirely if none of them supported it. So the wealth generated by market oligopolies and finance sector profits may be helped by a system of state capitalism, but the influential power of crony capitalism may come from the use of that wealth. It may be a structural cycle, like the cycles of poverty and discrimination, that is bigger than any one individual or group. Yet there are many groups competing for influence, and the pluralist model says that different groups have power in different ways. The wealthy don't all agree, and other groups, including labor unions and small business owners, have combined resources to lobby for their own interests. As massive an institution as government is, it is only a social construction made up of all the individuals who contribute to it. What power do ordinary people have to change it? Well, the United States began after violently rebelling against the rule of the British monarchy, and since then many groups, women and racial minorities, labor unions and peace activists, have protested, boycotted, striked, and otherwise tried to coerce the government and corporations to change. While it takes wealth to advertise in mainstream media and hire lobbyists, anyone can share information on the internet. And of course, we do technically have a representative democracy, with some local opportunities for direct democracy, and most adult citizens can vote or run for office. An individual's power is limited, but forming interest groups combines our ideas and resources. But all of these actions require persistence and active participation, and most working people don't have a lot of extra time and energy to contribute. Yet even the quick act of casting a vote is only drawing around half of eligible citizens in recent elections. Perhaps it's strain theory again. We retreat from our political duties out of a feeling of hopelessness, or that there's no option we really agree with. Many people feel that when voting in national elections, especially for president, they are voting for the lesser of two evils. Political parties are like massive interest groups, nominating political candidates that appeal to a larger political ideology. But our elections are dominated by only two main parties, who must balance the many social and economic issues that people care about, and operate in a bureaucracy that pressures conformity and blames problems on political scapegoats. The number of Americans registering in one of these two main parties has dropped dramatically in recent years. While the Democrats are moderately liberal, and the Republicans are somewhat conservative, the popularity of the corporate tycoon Donald Trump and the Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders shows many people are looking for representatives who take a stronger stance or find alternative balances between the issues. Do we need more powerful third parties? Or would that simply divide the vote and allow even less popular candidates to represent us? Are there changes we could make to our political system to allow more choice and less corruption? As a social scientist, I encourage you to take advantage of accurate, detailed, less biased internet resources to learn all you can about the political options in your country.